to the Torah, Yash Allah, giving the course, Allah, the glory and praise unto the Most High God, Yahweh. In the names of the God, Sani Yahweh Shah, this is Brother Yasha Allah coming back to y'all yet another video through the Spirit power, Yahweh, by Shema Masha, Umalak Yahweh Shah. All right, Shalom, Shalom again. So I'm getting straight into this, right? Let's be going into bringing our sacrifices to the Most High God. All right, so we have to bring our sacrifices to the Most High. All right, on a spiritual level, that is, because we know that we don't have a temple that's set up right now, right? We don't have a temple that's set up right now. Back in the ancient world, you will bring your sacrifices. You understand? To the you'll bring your sacrifices onto the Most High, right? Let's get precepts on that. Let's go to the book of Leviticus. All right, let's go to Leviticus. This is Leviticus chapter 17 and verse number 2. It says, "Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons and unto all the children of Israel, and say unto them, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded, saying, What man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox or a lamb or goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation," right? It says to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord. "Blood shall be imputed unto that man. He hath shed blood, and that man should be cut off from among his people." You see that? So the Lord said, if you don't bring it unto the door, the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle, it says blood shall be imputed unto that man. So we have to bring our sacrifices unto the Most High. Even in the ancient world, you have to do that. All right, let's go to Leviticus chapter 1 and verse 3. "If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord." So you have to bring your sacrifices unto the Most High, okay, onto the literal tabernacle of the congregation. We have to do that in the ancient world. Now, on a spiritual level, we still have to do that, right? But it's on the spiritual level. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 35. We can't appear empty before the Most High. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 35, verse 1. "He that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough." So by you keeping the laws of the Most High, that's you bringing sacrifices. That's you bringing offerings now, right? "He that taketh heed to the commandment offereth a peace offering." So by you taking heed to the commandments, that's like you throwing up a peace offering, right? "He that requireth a good turn," meaning you're doing acts of kindness, committing acts of kindness, right? "Offereth fine flour, and he that giveth alms sacrificeth praise." To depart from wickedness is a thing well pleasing to the Lord, and to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation. So to forsake unrighteousness, to keep the laws of the Most High, all that stuff is throwing up spiritual sacrifices to the Most High. Verse 4, "Thou shalt not appear empty before the Lord." So we can't appear empty before the Lord. What's our sacrifices that we're doing? Keeping the laws of the Most High, right? Keeping the commandments, requiting good turns, even throwing up videos, doing videos. That's a form of sacrifice. Putting our life on the line, like in the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 1, the Lord to us, Paul talks, or it's like Paul, he talks about presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice, right? So all these things is a way of throwing up spiritual sacrifices onto the Most High. Since we know that, in the ancient world we had to do that, we're still doing it now, but on a more spiritual level, right? Let's go to the book of First Peter. This is the book of First Peter, chapter 2, right? And verse number 5. It says, "Ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house." So together, all right, as we form one body. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 4 on down, there's one body, one God, one spirit. You understand? So we as lively stones are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices. Because back then, in the ancient world, before Yahweh Shah, you needed an actual priesthood set up. You needed a priesthood with a priest, right? The Levites and all this other, the tabernacle, the congregation. So you needed a lot of things that were set up, right? That you needed a high priest. So all these things were needed to be set up, right, through the Spirit. But it says what? "Ye also as lively stones." So now on a more spiritual level, we're like these lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood to offering up spiritual sacrifice. So we're offering up spiritual sacrifices now. we're those spiritual priests. You understand? We're those spiritual priests on a metaphorical level. It says acceptable to God by Yahweh Shah Mahasiyah. Wherefore it is contained in the scripture, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. So whoever believes on Yahweh Shah is not going to be confounded, right? And Khan, shalom, shalom, King. Khan, all praises, right? It says what? I'm gonna skip down to verse 9. It says, "Be you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood." There's a reason why it says we're a royal priesthood. You can't just skip over that line and just be like, yeah, whatever. It says a royal priesthood because we are those spiritual priests on a metaphorical level now. And holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So that's why we're throwing up these spiritual sacrifices to the Most High. Remember, the Most High still requires sacrifices. In Sirach 35, the Lord said, look, as we put it, it says, thou shalt not appear empty before the Lord. So we can't come to the Lord empty-handed, right? You need to bring sacrifices to him. Present your body as a living sacrifice, right? Let's go to Philippians. I mean, you know, that's what we do every time we go out to the highways and byways. We're literally presenting our body as a living sacrifices. We're saying to hell with our feet. It don't matter if it hurts, whatever. We're still going to be out there. We're you know, by us coming out there, we're saying to hell with with our body, right? To hell with whatever, right? Because whatever can happen out there when we're out there in the highways and byways. Anybody can come up and do whatever, right? And certain brothers might die out there. Certain brothers, we may go to jail or whatever, and you know, it's literally war out there. So by us going out there in the highways and byways, we're also presenting our body as a living sacrifice. Let's go to Philippians chapter 2, verse 16. Holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, that I have not run in vain, not labored in vain. Yea, and if I be offered upon the sacrifice and service of your faith, I joy and rejoice with you all. So Paul said, look, if I be offered upon the sacrifice and service of your faith, I joy and rejoice with you all. So Paul, he wanted to be sacrificed. He wanted to be offered up to the Most High, right? He presented his body as a living sacrifice, which is very, very commendable because he didn't care about his life, right? Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 20, right? Acts chapter 20 and verse number 24. It says, but none of these things move me. Neither count I my life dear unto myself. So he didn't even count his life dear unto himself. He didn't care. He wanted to die for the Most High. It says, so that I might finish my course with joy and the ministry which I have received of the Lord Yahweh Shah, to testify the gospel of the grace of the Most High. Right? I'm going to get this precept as well. It's the book of Romans. This was Paul's mentality. It's in Romans chapter 14 and verse 7. For none of us liveth to himself, and no man dieth to himself. So what he's saying is, look, we don't live for ourselves. We live for Yahweh Shah. That's what Paul was saying. We don't live for ourselves. We live for Yahweh Shah. If you're in this truth, you live for Yahweh Shah. Right? Because we understand that, look, even when you go to the book of Galatians, right? You go to the book of Galatians, chapter 5, verse 16 on down, right? It says the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. These are contrary the one to another, so that you cannot do the things that ye would. So whatever you would want to do, you can't do that, right? When it pertains to indulging in fleshly desires, right? Sinful desires, right? Yeah, like you would commit adultery, but you can't do that. Now understanding that you're in this truth and following Yahweh Shah, right? Yeah, you would in the world, you would do that. You would smoke. You would drink until you get drunk. You would kill your own brother or hate your own brother. You would do these things, but since now you're in this truth, you cannot do the things that you would. So then that's the whole thing, right? Temperance, right? But the Lord is saying, for none of us liveth to himself, and no man dieth to himself. So we don't even die for ourselves. We die for Yahweh Shah, right? It says what? For whether we live unto the Lord. And whether we die unto the Lord. Whether we live, therefore, or die, we are the Lord's. So whether we're alive in Yahweh Shah and we're dead in Yahweh Shah, right? So we die for Yahweh Shah and we live for Yahweh Shah. That's basically what Paul is saying. And that's true. If you're in this truth, that's the case. It says what? For to this end, Christ both died and rose and revived, that he might be Lord, both of the dead and living. You see that? So Yahweh Shah is the Lord over the dead and living. Let's go to the book of Hebrews, right? So that's why presenting your body as a living sacrifice, even unto death, is a thing well pleasing to the Most High. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 13. Actually, before I get that, I'm gonna go to the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 4. All right. Hey, like how the brother Judah Myers posted that good precept in Philippians 1:21. It says, for to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. Right? He said, yeah, exactly. He said to die is gain. He said, look, man, when you read that chapter, he's like, look, I'm in a strait betwixt two. You know, because I want to die. Hey, I want to die and be with Yahweh Shah. That's what he was saying. Like, hey, man, I just want to die and be with Yahweh Shah already, man. To hell with this world. I don't care. Hey, just let me die, man. And be with Yahweh Shah. That's how much the Lord, or that's how much he loved the Lord. But then he was like, but then it's more needful for me to be down here still, to teach you guys and to lead you in the way that you should go. So yeah, Paul was so on fire that was his mentality, man. He desired death, right? You know, and desired not an ungodly death, but a godly one, of course. It's the book of Hosea, chapter 6 and verse 6. For I desire mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings, right? And in another place, the Lord said that he desired knowledge, right? Or it's like he desired obedience over sacrifice, man. Right? It's better to be obedient than just to give 1,000 rams. Because remember, back in the ancient world, you could prepare your ram or whatever. You could prepare your ram, you could prepare your sheep, and then you commit that sin, and then boom, you could just bring that offering to the Most High, and the Lord appeases it, right? Or forgives you of that sin. That's not true obedience, right? That's not true obedience. The Lord said he desired mercy, not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings, right? So we desire the knowledge of the Most High more than just burnt offerings, like literal burnt offerings. The Most High is about actual obedience, right? So that's why we are offering up these spiritual sacrifices, which is more effect, or it's like, yeah, not acceptable, but they're more how can I word this, right? They're more empowered, right? They're more powerful than actual physical sacrifices, because these spiritual sacrifices teach us to actually be obedient, like literally obedient, and not going off and then just offered up a sacrifice. Right? Let's go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, and verse number 15. For by him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise to God continually, that is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. So that's the sacrifice of praise, right? Yeah, how the brother said, meaningful. Exactly. You know, it's a little bit more meaningful than an actual physical sacrifice. You're throwing up a spiritual sacrifice. You're offering up yourself. You're offering up your it says what? This precept says sacrifice of praise to God continually, which is what? That is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. So by you saying the Wadi Habashah, praising the name of the Lord, guess what? That's you offering up the fruit of your lips, right? Verse 16. But to do good and to communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices God is well pleased. So those are sacrifices too, to do good. What does it mean to do good? I mean, it's the same thing, right? As what? Keeping the law. What is good? Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 12, right? For we know that the law is good, right? And the commandment good and just and holy, right? It says, but to do good and to communicate, forget not. You also have to communicate. You want to communicate together with your brethren, you know what I'm saying, with your nation. It says what? Forget not, for with such sacrifices God is well pleased. You also want to call up brothers, you know what I'm saying? You want to check up on each other. The Lord said, don't forget to do that, right? Because with that, that's a sacrifice, right? That's charity, that's alms, you know? So all these things are spiritual sacrifices that we can be throwing up in these last days, that we have to be throwing up, you know, to the Most High God, so that he can accept it, right? Let's go to the book of, right? I know I quoted that. I'm gonna actually pull it, bro. Right? I'm gonna actually pull it. It's the book of Romans, chapter 12, and verse number 1. It says, but I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, that acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. Right? You see that? So the Lord said, look, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And we have to renew our mind, right? We have to renew our mind. Hold on. Okay, come on. Yeah, we have to renew our mind. By renewing our mind, that means what? That means that we're coming out of the world, coming into this truth. We know, and let me get this real quick. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 19 and verse 7. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 19 and verse number 7. And it reads, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise and simple. So the law of the Lord is going to convert your soul. It all goes back to the law. It all goes back to the law about how these spiritual sacrifices, right, that we're throwing up is by keeping the laws of the Most High, being obedient unto Him, right, and going above and beyond. You know what I'm saying? Keeping the commandments, doing as the Lord says, right? Because these are sacrifices. It's a sacrifice, like literally. When you're doing a video, you're sacrificing your time throughout your day to teach or to exhort the nation. You know, you're taking time out of your day to do that. That's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing your time, and time is time is money, right? Time is money. So you could be doing other things, but you're sacrificing your time, your attention, your energy to do the work of the Most High, and the Most High is appeased by that. The Most High accepts that. A sacrifice is what you're sacrificing when you're going out to the highways and byways, on the Shabbats, right? You're sacrificing your Shabbat to go out into the highways and byways. You could be at home with your woman. You could be at home with your kids. You could be if you have them. You could be at home chilling. You know what I'm saying? You could be at home watching TV, man. Nah, but you're actually out here enduring the elements. Might be cold, it might be hot, whatever. Right? You're enduring the elements, and you're straining your voice, lifting up your voice like a trumpet mightily. You're teaching, shaking the hand, which is taking a lot of your time and your energy, right? And by you doing that, you're sacrificing. And we sacrifice every day when we do videos or when we're reading, right? Because you'd be doing other things. But now you're giving that time. Remember, time is very important. The Lord said in the book of Ephesians chapter 5, redeeming the time for the days, because the days are evil. So the days are evil, and we know that the time is short, and we don't have much time throughout the day, right? Brothers that's busy or sisters that's busy, we don't have much time throughout the day. So by you giving time to the Most High, making sure you have time for the Most High every day, that's you sacrificing, because you're literally sacrificing that valuable time that you have, right? So the Lord is well pleased by that, you know. And we're a sacrifice every day by abstaining from fleshly lust, like enduring temptation, because that's hard too. Because you could, remember, sacrifice is burnt, right? You have burnt offerings, free will offerings, drink offerings, et cetera, et cetera. You have different offerings when you read the book of Leviticus, right? Thing is, we're like a burnt offering, because let's go to the book of Hebrews, right? This book of Hebrews. This book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse number 10. We have an altar whereof they have no right to eat, which serve the tabernacle. For the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burnt without the camp. So this is a sin offering, right? Wherefore Yahushua also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. Let us go there, let us go forth therefore unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. You see that? Meaning, let us sacrifice ourselves, just like how Yahushua sacrificed himself for his people. You see that? So that's in the similar type of way. Our body, right, our spirit, right, is like a burnt offering. You know what I'm saying? Because we're literally fighting temptation. We're fighting our flesh every single day to be in this truth. We're fighting Satan every day, to be in this truth. a soldier's, even on a physical level, a soldier sacrifices his life. He puts his life on the line for his nation, for his people, right? For his country, you know, and like manner, the Lord compares us to soldiers as well. Because a soldier, all he does is take orders, right? He takes orders and he puts his life on the line. He does anything that he can. You know, you've seen the movies. You've seen the movies in which soldiers would sacrifice their life for his fellow soldier, or for the sake of his country, for the sake of his nation. You know, and hey, there's even a video of a World War II veteran, and they were congratulating him on live TV. You know, saying that he's a hero, saying that he's brave. You know, and this, that, and the third. Now, mind you, he's a World War II veteran, right? But here's the thing. He said, look, he said, don't call me a hero and don't call me brave. All the heroes are dead. You know what I'm saying? He said, all the heroes are dead. Hey, I'm here. I'm lucky. That's what he said. I'm here. I'm lucky. But all the real heroes are dead. Because why? They sacrificed their life. They put their life on the line, dying for for their country. Right? So in like manner, that's why the Lord says this. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 116, right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 116, right? Salaki, right? Hold on. 9:16. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 116, and verse 15. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of the saints. So that's precious in the sight of the Lord. When he sees one of his saints, right, die for him, putting his life on the line, right, sacrificing his life, literally suffering because you're fasting, you're praying, you're breaking down your body just for the Most High, right? It says, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. I mean, literally, when you're fasting, you're killing yourself. Think about it. You're killing yourself. When you're fasting, you're deliberately killing yourself. Because what? In Job, it says, look, we need food. It says food is necessary to us. I mean, even when you study biology, it'll tell you that. You need food, you need water to survive, right? Sirach says that. You need food, water, shelter, right? Etc., right? So these are the things that you need to survive. By you fasting and afflicting yourself, you're showing to the Lord, guess what? I put my life on the line for you, right? I'm sacrificing myself, right? I'm sacrificing myself for you, right? I'm cutting out this, I'm cutting out that. So again, that's how we're presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice, right? And then even, you know, like how I said, just to reiterate the fact, you know, it's not only fasting, it's not only praying, it's not only growing out your beard, but that's part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's just obeying the commandments of the Most High God, right? So all praises to the Most High God, man. All praises to the Most High. So with that, all praises. Lord willing, this video is edifying. Lord willing, to kind of reiterate certain things, you know, for brothers that already knew. Through the Spirit, the water for tuning in. Kwam Yasha'Allah. Lord willing, all brothers have a mighty, mighty Shabbat. Through the Spirit, Power Yahweh Shani Shah sundown. Kwam Yasha'Allah. Shalom.